Good evening and welcome. Welcome to our town hall meeting. My name is Troy Fryman. I'm the committee chair for the Connor High School Turf Field Committee. On behalf of Coach Hicks, our athletic director Connor, and our committee, they'll be coming up here. We'll introduce them soon, and some of our coaches. We welcome you to this town hall meeting. We'd like to say a special thanks to Mr. Plump and the jazz band. I know Coach Buck's already mentioned that, so let's give them a round of applause one more time, please. In addition to that, we'd like to say a special thanks to the Lakeside community here for giving us the opportunity to come out, to spread the word, to share our vision, and to make this actually a reality for what we're trying to achieve here, and that's the turf field for Connor High School. What I do want to say is that we want to say a special thanks to Dr. Poe and the Boone County School Board on giving us the opportunity to have this opportunity for the next 24 months to go through and try to raise funds for Connor High School for the turf field. In addition to that, there's been a lot of questions already asked through social media, what the school board's going to be doing for this. And what I can share with you all, we'll talk a little bit about academic achievements at Connor, but what I want to hit on first so that everybody understands. I have the opportunity to travel across the country a lot. I work in local and state government. And what I can tell you all is we're very blessed to be in a community, not only here in Hebron, but here in Boone County. We've got an extraordinary education program set forth for our students, from bottom all the way up. And I think it's important that everybody knows, even though there's monies that are already in the school fund for what the school board is doing for those monies that are allocated for new schools and what have you, it's important that they stay focused on building those new schools and putting the money where it needs to go. It's on us as a community to raise these funds so that we can make and enrich our students at Connor High School in a better fashion. And so I do want to stress that up front that we're very blessed that where we live and what Boone County does for us is very important. So this is going to be all community driven. It's going to be community driven by the students. It's going to be community driven by our own our own local folks within the Hebron High School, Connor High School District, and of course our business community. So I just want to stress that up front before we get started. Our agenda is going to go as follows. Coach Hicks and I are going to talk a little bit on a few things introductory of our panel and of our committee. In addition to that, we got about a 9-minute video that's going to share information on some of the student athletes from the student body as well as the coaching staff at Connor High School. Coach Hicks.
Okay. As Troy mentioned, my name is Coach Hicks. I am the athletic director at Connor High School. I want to introduce our coaches here. To your far left, my far right, is Coach Spitzer. He is our girls soccer coach. Next to him is Coach Crone. He is our boys soccer coach. And we have Coach Arlinghouse, who is our baseball coach, and Coach Trosper, who is here representing as our football coach. Out in the crowd, we do have our cheerleading coach, Mr. Clogle. Thank you for showing Mr. Clogle. And why they're here, because each one of these coaches are going to be affected by us getting a turf field. Our softball coach is also going to be here. When she can, they had a late practice. Some things came up and she wasn't able to make it, but she is also very excited for us in this project. With that, you want to introduce the panel?
Yeah, thanks, Coach Hicks. The panel that we've got are several business leaders here in the Hebron community, and I've had the opportunity to work with them in some youth sports throughout northern Kentucky. Our first one is Justin Bailey's Car Wash. He's going to be doing a fundraiser for the high school here next month, where all proceeds after cars are being washed, that money's going to go into the fund. In addition to that is John Kaplinger. Cap is a special person to all of us. He works for Cincinnati Bell Technology Service over in Cincinnati and has a lot of involvement in the technology community across northern Kentucky and the tri-state, and he's a Hebron resident as well. Also, we have Joe Bucks. Joe is integral in the youth sports field that we have here in northern Kentucky and is recently taken over as our manager for River Shore for DKY Athletics. In addition to that, we got Chaz Hungler. Chaz is somewhere out here. Chaz has helped with our website. If you haven't looked at our website, please do. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Chaz has kept that clean and neat and fairly easy to read through. In addition to that, Chris Hall. Chris is not here. He's on assignment. He's a sheriff deputy here in Boone County, and he is out getting some studies done for his profession, and he's been an integral part of this as well. And then Brianne Malott, I got to mention Bree. She's helped us with some of the content that we put together. This hasn't been a one-person show. We've had about 7 or 8 professionals that have really driven to help us through this. And then we do have a good friend, Dan Wood, that's helped us with the video that you're ready to see. So on behalf of those, the committee, and the rest of our coach staff, we thank you. We're going to show a short video, and then we'll get into a PowerPoint. And once that PowerPoint's done, we're going to start taking questions and answers. Dan.
We are a community built for action. A team of freedom fighters. Obsessive includers. Sacrificial givers. Inspired workers. A team that can't sit still. Won't sit still. We've been given a big vision. It's bold. It's risky. But we are made for this. And we are all in.
Hello, my name is Troy Fryman. I'm the committee chair for the Connor High School's Turf Field Committee. And on behalf of our athletic director, Coach Jim Hicks, all of the high school coaches here at Connor, and our band director, we want to thank you for this opportunity. In a short while, you're going to hear from all of those coaches, as well as the band director and some of the student athletes, on why it's important for them to have a turf field here at Connor High School. What I want to share with you is just briefly the importance of what we've put together in order to have success on raising funds for a turf field. We've been given the opportunity by Boone County School Board to raise the funds with an amount of about 24-month period. Our goal is to try to raise this as soon as possible, so we're going to try to do this sooner than later. We have several different levels of sponsorship that our community is going to try to support in this effort. We're looking at this in 3 areas: from the community standpoint with families, from the business standpoint within the local community here, as well as the student standpoint on the students being able to give for the cause. Of that, we've put together several committees that's going to be going out, visiting with our communities, from the family standpoint, from the business standpoint, as well as here at Connor High School with fundraising with the Connor High School students. We're very excited about this because of different levels of sponsorship, different levels of fundraising that's going to come to the table. Our overall goal that we have in this effort is over $1 million. Minimally for the field itself, we need to raise anywhere between $615,000 to $700,000. Our goal for that is going to happen. Failure's not an option.
Number one, from an overall community and school standpoint, it was off the charts. It was something that we've been envious of other schools and other teams that we've played. It's something that our kids have talked about, been passionate about. Opportunities from a practice and a game standpoint, not just for us, but an overall school and community environment.
It opens up opportunities. It helps us as far as it can reduce injuries, not having to play on a slippery grass field. We can practice more in the rain and weather, not have to bring it inside.
It's something that we've talked about from the coaching standpoint for many years, but pretty excited to see it's actually going to be a possibility and it's going to happen.
I was very excited. I just already was envisioning all of the practices that we could be having when our field was, too wet from the rain, and just all of the possibilities that would bring to Connor athletics. So yeah, definitely very excited.
I feel like having a turf field will have more kids come to Connor that live around here, rather than going to like Covcass, St. Henry, and Ryle, and changing schools out of the district.
I think it would be a tremendous pride factor. I know as a band director going to competitions in places, it's always nice to walk into a stadium or a field and you look at it and go, wow, they got a nice turf here. And it raises your opinion of that school and what they have, and makes you think, wow, this is a community that really takes pride in what they have.
It's used by the community too. I mean, we keep it open, people use the track, and it's used by the band and cheerleaders as well. And one of the things I wanted to do as president is improve school spirit, and we've struggled with it for years. And I think improving on the stadium would help with that a lot.
I feel like overall it'll help the school get a better population because they want to play on better stadiums, better fields. That's why I feel like we lose a lot of people to other schools because we don't have the best facilities and stuff like that, and they don't want to risk them getting hurt.
As class president, I think I can speak for a lot of students when I say that for years we've needed a turf field, and I've heard complaints about it for a while, and I think it'd be a great idea. And the student body, I mean, it's used by so many sports and so many kids, and the field is a place that we can all get together and, for games or practices, anything like that. It'd be a great thing to improve on that.
I do think it'll generate a lot of excitement, and I think that it will boost our school spirit and make more people want to go, and I think it'll improve the entire experience of going to football games.
I was initially very excited about the idea. I've got a lot of friends who coach different sports throughout northern Kentucky, and it seems like more and more high schools have turf fields. So, I got lots of buddies who obviously are baseball coaches, and, as we're stuck in the gym or out in a parking lot, they're texting me pictures and texting me like what they're doing out on the turf field. They're able to get a lot more accomplished than what we're able to get accomplished in the gym or parking lot, and so it's exciting, and I think the community around it is getting excited about this concept too.
For our program, this will make a huge difference in the type of soccer that we can play.
I guess my initial thoughts were, why hasn't it happened yet? Because I know our football program has been very strong the past couple years, and I've wondered why other schools in Boone County may have it and we don't.
I just think it would open up a ton of possibilities from hosting tournaments on it. I know that turf holds up a lot better than regular grass, especially with the weather, especially during the spring. So it would definitely open up all of that. And then just opening up practice time. We all struggle to cram in practice time during these spring sports, and that would just give us everything that we needed.
We'll have access to a turf field, so we'll be able to play on the level that all the other teams play on. So they have the advantage to practice on that, and they know how to play on that.
Practice time. When it rains now, if it rains hard enough, practice is very hard for us. We can't go out onto the practice field. Trying to get 75 guys in a gymnasium is very difficult.
It'll mean everything, especially closing out my playing career here, and I'll feel like I accomplished something as a leader for kids that will be coming ahead in the future.
I would see that as a great opportunity for me to do that. So I would see that would definitely generate some interest from them younger kids to say, I want to be a part of that. I can get to go out there and be on that nice field and do those things.
Our PE classes are going to flourish from it. Our student body is going to have an opportunity to go out and do the things that they want to do on it. So, and not worry about it being torn up.
You can rent it out to youth sports clubs, whether it's flag football. Lacrosse is starting to become huge here in northern Kentucky, greater Cincinnati. You can rent it out for soccer, so you can generate money to help for the other facilities that are in need of help, whether it's the gym or the softball field or the baseball field. Hopefully you take that money that is generated through renting out our facility and it kind of pay it back to everybody else.
I think that's good for this school because a lot of people are really excited and a lot of people are behind this movement.
We're calling for you to help us in this funding. We're calling for you to help us in this opportunity to raise awareness for this. We're calling for you in this opportunity to help strengthen our numbers in terms of getting the word out so that we can actually make this dream a reality.
Okay, you can hit the PowerPoint, please. First slide that you're going to see up here is our mission statement that our committee has put together. And it illustrates not only what you just heard and seen on the screen, but what it means in reality to these student athletes. Enriching Conner High student lives by giving each and every student an opportunity to excel at a great level for a longer period of time, making sporting and school activities safer, more enjoyable, and successful. The three key areas of the impact from what we just shared with you right there is really going to hit home runs. How we're going to drive this, how we're going to achieve what we need to do. It's going to be with the Conner High School student body. It's going to be with the community. And it's going to be with our business community that we have here locally. And the next slide, what I want to talk a little bit about is the student body. And from the student body, I think it's important to think back in history, how long Conner's been around. Some of you have probably been here since Conner, it started as being a school. I actually had an opportunity to see somebody in the grocery store that was in the first class in '71. And it was exciting to hear the times that they had, whether they were in sports or not, which this person actually was. And it was fun for me just to reminisce a little bit as a child in the 80s, knowing who that person was in the 70s. But the point being is that we have, since 1971, over 15,000 graduates at Conner High School. 15,000 strong. And it's very important because we're going to start seeing something within the next few years, especially here in northern Kentucky and in the Boone County, Hebron area, where those numbers potentially could go up more. From that, the workforce that we have, and this is very important here, 89 certified staff members, 1 principal, 4 assistant principals, 2 counselors, 1 athletic director, 27 additional staff, and 22 varsity head coaches. Let's give them a round of applause real quick, please. I don't know if Conner would be where it's at today if it wasn't for these professionals that take care of our students at Conner. Regardless if you're an athlete or if you're in a club or if you're in a band, it's very important that you all know and realize how important these professionals are for our students and what they're going to do for our students in order for them to be successful, not just today, but leading into tomorrow. The academic achievements, this is what gets exciting. I'm pumped about this. Academic achievements, just shy of 1,400 Conner High School students enrolled this year. Of those, 327 are seniors. 35 different club offerings, band programs, and multiple sport programs. Distinguished ratings since 2013, placing Conner High School in the top 10% for Kentucky high schools. That needs an applause. Why it needs an applause? Because of the hundreds of schools that we have throughout the state of Kentucky. Conner High School, being a public school, not an independent school, here in northern Kentucky there was only a handful that were that, and Conner was at least in the top 20 in the last of those few years. That is awesome. 2016 graduates. I don't know how many of you all attended the awards night last year. For me, it was awesome. Some people were getting a little antsy because it was over 4 hours long, but I was excited for those students. Of the 306 students that we had graduate last year, $3.6 million went into scholarship money for those students. That's on an average of over $10,000 per student. It's unreal. It is unreal. In a public school, that's unreal. And that's contributed to what our professionals do as far as the teaching, the administration role does at Conner, and what our students achieve to do. And it's also for the parents too. The parents have done a good job on them as well. But having this turn in full circle, and hit the next slide, please, is why it's important that we need a turf field at Conner. We've achieved academic excellence that we need at Conner. We've achieved the high standards that we've done at Conner, not just locally, but also statewide and nationally. It's time that we come together as a community now to draw more people in for our student body, for the community, for the business community, to excel in other areas besides the academics now. We complement very well on that. Now we need to complement on the sports side, starting with the sports facility, starting with the turf field. We necessarily just don't want to stop there with the turf field. We just know that potentially that could be the start of something where that can transcend into other sporting opportunities at Conner High School. And then, as a whole, we would be in a position where we can complement that school both academically and from the sports side very strongly. You all should take pride in that, what we have right now, but I promise you, you've heard the testaments from some of the student athletes and our student body president at Conner High School of the impact of what a turf field would do for them. Regardless if it's done within the next year, our goal is the next year, but regardless if it's done for them, leaving a legacy behind for others that will follow. And I think that's very important because I know a lot of parents, some of the questions that we've already had, you know, my daughter's in band, she's going to be graduating next year. My son's in soccer, he's going to be graduating in 2 years. What will this impact for me? Well, it will impact not just for what the legacy that you're going to leave for your child, but it's going to impact what you do for the community and for that school, more importantly. When we talk about the band programs, I don't know if you all had known what Conner High School's band was in the 80s. And one thing I can tell you about it, and it was really cool for me to see as a kid, of those that remember, Conner won state back in the early 80s. Do you all remember how big that trophy was? It was like 6 foot tall. It was the coolest thing in the world to see how big that trophy was that our band program was. I had a sister that participated in that band program. Our band numbers were outstanding. We had not only 50 or 60 in band, we had well over 100 at that time in band. You heard Mr. Peterson, the band director, say, if we have a turf field, it's going to help build a bigger and better band program. And it will. It will. In addition to that, more practice for competitions in a real environment rather than practicing on the blacktop there at the school. You know, that it will put them in a position where they're able to have more real time to participate and focus in terms of what they're trying to achieve. And that achievement is to excel more in their competitions when they have that opportunity. In addition, hosting band competitions. Hosting the band competitions, being proud. You heard Mr. Peterson talk about, you know, if he could have an opportunity to host a band competition, the only way he can be able to do that and represent Conner is if we had a turf field. The economic impact that would play for our business communities would be outstanding. It would be outstanding. In the sporting programs, I'd like Coach Hicks to talk a little bit about the sporting programs and the benefits that that's going to provide us here.
You know, one of the things sitting out here and looking at the crowd tonight, that it gives me chills and goosebumps looking out and seeing the number of our student athletes that are here. So that's telling you as a parent and as a community member how much they want this. That shows that they are striving to get this done because it's something that they see as a need and it's something that they see as a want that's going to help them in the long run. And like Troy said, it is a lasting legacy that you're going to leave in this program and in this community for years and years to come if we can get this, and we will get this accomplished. No, I moved out here in 1983. I grew up a Boone County fan. I know it's hard to hear from some of you guys. My brother played basketball at Boone County, and all Conner was a bunch of pig farmers. And we moved out here in 1983, and I'll never forget, one of the first memories I have of being out here is listening to the radio call of our football team winning a state championship against Franklin County. And that was so awesome for me. And right then and there, I was done with Boone. I was a pure Conner Cougar at that moment. And I was excited for our school, and I was excited for our program. And being, going up and graduating from Conner and seeing what we've done as a program through football, baseball, soccer, band, basketball, seeing these things, our great accomplishments that we've had, has seen we need to do this for our programs. It's going to help us in every aspect. Like we saw in the video, it's going to help baseball. It's going to help soccer. It's going to help football. It's going to help the band. And we need this to help our programs. We're going to have that year-round access. People are talking about needing and wanting lacrosse. Can't have lacrosse. Can't do it because we don't have the facility for it. Our band director, I'm going to piggyback a little bit on Troy, our band director wants to have competitions. Can't do it because we don't have a turf field. He won't go to a competition unless it's a turf field. Other band competitions cannot take place because they don't have turf, because it ruins things. Same thing with our sports programs. It's going to help us out in the long run when it comes to wear and tear on our bodies. It's going to help us out in the long run when it comes to wear and tear on uniforms. So that's going to help you guys out as parents. You don't have to wash as much because we now have this turf field. You know, some of the things that we can see as we continue to grow with this is it's going to help us out also with maintenance. You know, it's going to cost us about 40% less maintenance if we go turf. That's huge. We're not, you know, we're talking gas, paint, seed, fertilizer, different things along those lines that we're going to save money on. That now, instead of putting it back into the grass, we can now turn it right back into our sports programs. And that's going to, again, help them grow as a program as well. So all these things are just, there's so many positives in doing this. We just need to make sure we get it done. Troy.
Next slide. Thanks, Coach. Let's talk a little bit about the community. We talked about, as we mentioned, our student body. We talked about the sports side of it, the band side of it, the academic side of it. The other side of this that we want to hit upon is the community. And as you can see here on the screen, a few areas that it's going to help improve the real estate values here. It's going to help improve the community event opportunities and attract and retain students. Many of us, and you heard one of our student athletes on there, we have a lot of students that will leave this area to go to other high schools in Northern Kentucky because of the sports facilities. Academics, we're above or right there with them. It's the sports facilities that lead a lot of these kids to stay where they're at. What I want to share with you, if you see on the right of the slide up there, that is actually the cutout of Boone County. And as you can see, if you can imagine, Conner High at the top end, and then cutting down through there where 18 kind of goes east and west, that breaks through where Cooper's at, and then cutting a little bit further down, you'll see Ryle, and then on the bottom left, or bottom right there, you'll see Walton, and then kind of to the mid right, you're going to see Boone County High School. We wanted to illustrate this for several reasons, and this is pretty powerful, being that we're the Conner High School District. Some stats that we were able to get from friends of ours over at the courthouse. We have over 25,000 residents here in the Conner High School District. Of that, 2.7 per household. Of that, 86,000 income per household. The national standard, that wipes it out right there. It's unbelievable on how high we are. On the state standard, it's even much higher. It's unreal. New residents within 10 years. We can't predict when these homes are going to be built and when these people are going to be coming in. Based upon the resolution that was just passed a couple of months ago for the water, we're held up right now, as you all well know, because we're in a situation where we can't build anymore. That's actually passed, I think, from our local community, and more importantly, our builders are going to chime in some of the money on the front end to get that going to where eventually we can start building more homes out here. Now, the demographics will actually change here in the next few years, not so much from what we're doing in the Hebron area, but what Valley Shannon's going to do. So it's too early to say on where the school boundaries are going to break, but as of right now, we can only go on what's real and what's live, and this is it right here. So I think it's important when you realize, when we look at strength in numbers, it's our community. When you look at how many residents we have per household, and what our income per household is, it's outstanding. And I'm not sharing that because I feel, because of where the income's at. What I'm sharing is that we have such a decent and large community here that is structurally sound in a very strong manner. I'll be frank, we're sheltered here in Northern Kentucky, the Hebron and Burlington area compared to some of the other areas that I have to travel working in government throughout the U.S. We're very fortunate to have what we have, the schools. So as a resident here in Hebron, that's not going to do anything but get better. I am very glad, and I will say, that we are an unincorporated area right now. I know there's been talk about incorporating this, and I'm not at liberty to speak on that. That's for our fiscal report to talk about that. But I'm glad that we are, because we have so many of these opportunities of where we're going with this. Now, if a turf field did come into play, my role and my real job is property tax. It's not going to affect what you're paying in property tax as far as if Conner High School gets a turf field. This is not generated by what we bring into the school funds. The school funds, when they're generated in, they're kicked to Frankfurt, and they kick a portion back to us. I wish they kicked more, but the portion that's kicked back is distributed out through all the schools within Boone County, and then they handle that in a certain manner in terms of what they're doing between building and between people that are working for the school system. But why I want to illustrate this is it's very important. If you can just think in your mind from visually seeing this, the community that we have at play right here, we're in a special place. And this is why it's going to be important, and I feel very strongly about this along with our panel and Coach Hicks of why we're going to be able to achieve this goal. Next slide, Dan. When we talk about the local businesses and corporations, the economic impact that a high school turf field is going to have for the community is going to be outstanding. I know that some of the people that we talk to that have turf fields here in northern Kentucky and other areas that we've talked to some of their representatives about, some of them, as you heard Coach Hicks, it's literally a driver for their other academic and groups that they have at their schools. For the economic side of it, for the businesses, it may not necessarily impact as much for the corporations, but I promise you this, it will drive more people in. It will drive more people in that are going to be potentially working for these corporations and say, I want my child to go to this school. It's high academic achievement. It's great. The facilities look great, so that's going to help. Better facility will create opportunity to host larger events, revenue generating events, excuse me. So on that, we had the opportunity to sit and meet with some of the Hebron Business Association a few weeks ago. And Coach Hicks went along with us, along with some of our other committee members, and it was good to sit around the round table and talk to some of them. It was good to hear after the meeting was over of why it was special for them if something happened, like a turf field, of the money that would be generated for their businesses on weekends from tournaments and things of that nature. Giving back to local school and community, this is a big one. Believe me, my phone's been ringing off the hook about Amazon, okay? We know Amazon's coming in. We know Amazon is going to be a big player here, and not only northern Kentucky, but the state alone. It's going to bring a lot of tax dollars in. It's going to bring a lot of jobs in. And I'll be the first to tell you, with Mr. Hicks supporting this, that we are talking to them. But can you imagine the plane going up? Coach, can you imagine the plane going up, an Amazon plane going up, and seeing Amazon on the field? How cool would that be for them? Naming rights. If we have a corporation that gives at least $300,000, which could happen, they can't have the naming rights to the field. We've clarified that with the Kentucky High School Athletic Association as well as the National. Coach Hicks went out to review that. Not many of the high school turf fields in Kentucky actually have a name recognition with the name on it. Some of the names are actually put, like Riles in the back with the family that donated the large lump of sum of money there for that. When we look at the partnership program, the donations and tax write-offs, as you all well know, that own businesses, 30% can be written off of that fiscal year that you give that money. If you amortize that cost over 10 years, if you're looking at doing a sponsorship for 10 years, you can write off 30% of that each year, 30% of whatever the cost or whatever money you bring in. The sponsorships and the advertisements, both on these ends. Justin Bailey's worked really good and long and hard with Coach Hicks on working out the sponsorship details of the local businesses, of how we're going to attack that. We got another slide later that's going to talk about our workshop of how we're going to go through and raise those funds through the businesses and corporations. Next slide. So we're at the school board council. This is the turf field plan, and I think so that everybody understands of why we held off on starting this engagement now versus last year. Before we could get approval by the school board, we had to come together. So Coach Hicks brought our committee together back late August of last year, and we started talking about the demographics of what this could take on. We talked about the economic factors of what would be at play, and then we talked about the overall goal and achievements of what would bring that would be brought to the table from this. So we basically put together a business plan, and Mr. Hall and Mr. Bailey went to the school board meeting back on Thursday, January 12th, and that was approved. We are going to put that business plan out on our website eventually. It's going to be in a flip book. It's about 5 or 6 pages long. It talks heavily about our business practices, our philosophy, our basically a goal in mind of how we're going to achieve to raise money for a turf field. The committee marketing project. What we've done at that point a few weeks ago, we actually developed a business guide that we have for the business and corporations. We can also do that for the families too, but our donation size in that, Kaplan was going to talk a little bit later on about what those are, but that basically had gone through the process of going through and reviewing and being sure we had the right content in place before we started the business side of it, reaching the business community. Community sponsorship and donations, the production of that took place last week. What's important about that is that when we talk about the economic income on an average basis of what a family brings in, it doesn't matter to us if you give $1 or if you give $1,000 or $100,000. We're going to have all walks of life that's going to give different sizes, lump sums of money. What's important about it is the cost. What's important about it is reaching out to other individuals that you may know well and say, help us with this. So we're not going to turn any dollar amount away. And I believe if you received when you walked in here, and also you may have seen from our marketing campaign that we sent over 7,000 postcards out. So hopefully all of you that live in the Conner High School District, you should have gotten a postcard from us. On that postcard, on the back, it talks about mail monetary donations, 3310 Cougar Path, Hebron, Kentucky, 41048. And that can go actually into a check. That can actually go into a money order. We prefer those two, but if you can only do it in cash, that's fine too. We understand that. When we talk about the social media, as I just mentioned on there, and I believe Coach Hicks printed off some sheets that you could take with you. It's got everything on there in terms of our website. It's got our Twitter account. It's got our Facebook account. What I love about this, it's got Coach Hicks' number at school and his extension. Call him every day, call him twice on Sunday if you want. And then also it's got an email that you can email, and I'll be the one that will respond to that. So we encourage you to do that. If you want to go to the next slide, Dan. So there's those are. And then last, as far as social media goes, we did reach out. A friend of ours, Terry, from the NKY Tribune, put an article out about Conner raising funds, which happened over a week ago, and it was a good article about what we're doing and trying to achieve here. Where we're at today with the town hall, we're informing each and every one of you of the importance of this drive. In addition to that, we're trying to build up our committees so that we can find certain people sitting on that bus in the right seat to help us achieve our goal. Community commercial campaign, we're going to actually be doing a workshop at Conner High School on Tuesday, March 28th. And at that workshop, we're going to talk a little bit more where we are going to try to break up Conner High School's district and get more people out in the community to help us drive to raise these funds. Dan? On the private donation, I mentioned earlier, every dollar raised is important for this funding campaign. And I can't stress that enough to you all. If you've got someone that's willing to give $10, so be it. Bring the $10. We'll be very, very appreciative of that. We will accept any amount that you have to offer for the cost. Business and corporation donations, I'll hit a little bit more on this, and then Kaplan will actually talk about the budget of what we put together, what we need to raise. But just at a high level, if you do own a business or a corporation, and you're in a position where you're willing to give minimally $1,000 or higher, we've set our different goals of donating from champion at $100,000, diamond at $50,000, platinum at $25,000, gold at $10,000, silver at $5,000, and cougar at $1,000. In addition to that, Mr. Bailey has set up to where we're going to be doing some other drives for the business community to have a small sign on the back of the grandstand. And some of that money, what I like about this, some of that money actually will be from the business community where they can, it's going to be minimally $10,000 to put your name back there, but we're going to take $1,000 a year. But we're going to have them committed for 10 years. The beauty of that, the funding that we're raising for that, is on the back end of when we have our turf field. And we'll talk a little bit about the turf field. The turf field itself, on average, if you've got 25 hours of turf time, minimally you have about 10 to 12 years of usage out of it. So we realize, even if we reach our goal, raising a certain dollar amount of money, we have to have money allocated in there, better yet earmarked in there, so that we can replenish that field when need be. in the next 10 to 12 years after the field's been used heavily. Next slide, Dan. On the fundraising end, Bailey's Car Wash, we're going to be doing a fundraising there on April 30th. As you can see the time here from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. All those proceeds are going to be going to Conner High School Field Fund. And I believe Coach Hicks is going to be working out, we talked to you about this or not, massage. Going to have a massage chair inside. So when people are washing their cars, they can get a massage and then they can go. I'm going to sign up first. These are still yet to be determined. We've got 3 different, or at least the next 2 bullet points, the second and the third one, a car raffle and a split the pot. I want to put them out there, but do keep in mind this is a little bit premature because we've got to be sure that we want or approved that we can do these type of fundraisings at the school, and we've got to have our gaming license set. There's several different levels of gaming license, and some of us that run a nonprofit organization, you understand there's a small level, there's a medium level, and even a higher level. The level that we're looking to try to get and to obtain, Coach Hicks is working with the school board on right now, is really just for a raffle. It's just for a split the pot type of fundraising mechanism. Now of those, if we do have approval, what's unique about this is when we look at the car raffle, and if we do obtain the licensing for that, between our committee, we're either going to do 2 different things. We're going to either A, go out and buy a car between the committee, and we're going to raffle that off, or we're going to be in a position where we're actually going to do a 2 or 3 year lease on a car. And this is where it gets exciting, especially for the student body. These tickets are going to be $20 a piece. We're going to have 6,000 tickets. If you look at the cost on that, that's going to raise over $120,000 for us. Okay? We're going to do this in a blitz format. We're not going to try to do it when the other clubs or other sports are doing their fundraising. So we're trying to find that pocket right now what's going to be best to achieve that. Okay? I'm excited about that because that's going to be a heavy money generator if we're able to obtain those licenses and get approval by the school and the school board. In addition to that split the pot, it's still yet to be determined of how we would go about that depending upon the venue that we're going to be at and the sporting event that would take place. I would more or less look at that if we did a function outside of school, whether it's a golf outing or some type of dinner that we put together and have more adults partake in that. One thing I do want to mention about the car raffle, and this is what some of the committee members are going to do too, is we're going to try to split some of these teams and groups up in the schools. Again, administration approval. And then the winners that raise the most money, we're going to do a dinner for those students. And I'm excited about that to see who can raise the most amongst their group and build teamwork there. The last thing that we're looking at is a brick drive. And Coach Hicks and I had the opportunity to talk to some other individuals that did brick drives at their schools and other nonprofit agencies. And this is something we're still looking into. It's not only the matter of raising the funds through the brick drive, but how we're going to put those bricks, where you're going to distribute those bricks. And we've got to work with the building department, Emmett Hayes, the building director, of how we would go about that if we took that direction. Next slide. I'm going to have John Kaplinger speak for a little bit on the grants, and then he's also going to break down the math for everybody in terms of the fundraising.
Make no mistake, the reason why we chose the church is I'm going to go ahead and have the ushers come forward and start passing around the as you guys can tell, this is a grassroots effort. This is us in the community trying to do something for the high school. Let me give you a little background of where I came from. I'm not a native Hebrew. I didn't go to Conner High School. I actually grew up in Rising Sun, Indiana. We were the smallest school in the state of Indiana. We did not even have a football team. And the reason we didn't have a football team is our basketball coach would not allow it. How many are familiar with the movie Hoosiers? Pretty much everyone, right? Can you imagine being the smallest school in Rising Sun and you played the team that actually the movie was made about, Milan, Indiana? We would leave our field and we'd travel up to Lawrenceburg High School. And I remember looking, we pull in, you look at our field, and then you get up there and you see Lawrenceburg's field. You just look at that field and you'd be amazed. I remember our coach saying, look at this, it's a covered field. I said, no, coach, you're still on the bus. But it was just overwhelming to look at the field and see the difference of a school that could provide these facilities versus our school that didn't have it. And it was a little intimidating. If you remember the scene in Hoosiers, what happened when they walked on the court? When they saw the court and they were stated in the big game, what was it? They were almost afraid because we've never been in a facility like this before. And the coach had to remind them it's the same as what you're used to playing on. But it really is just the sheer awe of what that facility can bring. And our goal here is to try to give that to Connor and to all the students so they can have the same facilities. Let me talk a little bit about where we're going with the NFL. So one of the nice things in working at Cincinnati Bell, they do a lot of outreach in the community. One of the organizations we've worked with is the Anthony Munoz Foundation. The president of Cincinnati Bell Technology Solutions, John Burns, is great friends with Anthony. He's put me in touch with Anthony. We're currently having conversations. Anthony's son works for the NFL. And we believe through working with Anthony's son, working with the NFL, they're going to donate, hopefully a huge portion, but they're going to donate funds to help this. That being said, the local team has to match or has to add funds to that. So that means the Cincinnati Bengals will have to maybe add some funds on top of that. In addition to the NFL, the Northern Kentucky Youth Athletics Organization, we run a youth football group, and we're also USA Football certified. The USA Football program allows us to apply for grants to help with fields. I'm currently filling out an application for that to help get funds from that perspective. In addition to that, you heard Troy mention Amazon or corporations. We're talking to, in the early stages of a conversation with Amazon. A former employee of mine actually worked for Google and left and then went to Amazon. And he was pretty well connected. In addition to that, Coach Hicks has some contacts at Amazon as well. And what we're hoping is that we can get some corporations to help match these funds. So the goal would be to get the community from a corporation, from the NFL, from these grant programs to provide the lion's share if possible. Where we're going to need some assistance is where they don't give us that total, how do we shore that up from the community? Next slide real quick. Here's kind of how we've broken that down. We've taken a stab at this based on what we think we can do. We think the NFL, we might be able to garnish at least $350,000. That doesn't count for what maybe the Bengals will bring, so we're hoping that will bring some money in as well. The field sponsor, that would be, as Troy mentioned, we'd like to provide some naming rights to a corporation that would donate a large chunk of money to assist with that. That could be Amazon, that could be St. Elizabeth, that could be Wayfair, whatever corporation that we think, as we talk to them, that would get behind us, if they could donate around that amount, that's where we would allow them to have sponsorship. At the corporation tier, and we've tried to break it down in chunks that we think are achievable. So I would think, $20,000 from a large corporation should be achievable. If we can get 5 companies to donate, that's another $100,000. Local businesses, maybe we can get 10,000 from them, get 15 to donate, that's another $100,000. From the community, we're thinking, if we could get people that could give maybe 10,000 or 5,000 or 1,000 or 500, and if we can hit those numbers, you can see it becomes very achievable. It can happen quickly. And then also from the students' perspective, we're hoping that any students that want to get behind it, if they want to give some extra money, they can donate. They can help, assist with raising the funds for this field. So again, I just want to stress, this is all community driven. There's nothing from the school that's driving this other than the fact that Coach Hicks is behind it, all of the coaches are behind it, the students are behind it, but it's really just, it's us. And we're all just trying to say, can we help give Connor a field that other teams would be in awe? And I can tell you from my history, going to those fields and seeing them when I came from a small high school. It is really neat to step on a field and play on a field that is more than a sandlot, if you will.
Thank you, John. To add to what John just mentioned about, you can hit the next slide if you like, Dan. We haven't really been marketing heavy on this besides the mailers that you received, or if you've looked at our Facebook. And we've had a few people already step up, and just to make it, our reality get a little bit closer and not be a dream anymore. We had the Campbell family, John Campbell, I don't know if you're here, but thank you. He's already donated $5,000. He's got another $5,000 he's going to be bringing later. We had an anonymous donor that gave another $10,000. So we're already $15,000 in the bank as of right now today. So when you look on our website and you see that football going across the field, that football is representing band, it's representing soccer and everything. Unfortunately, it's just a football. But that's going to be moving across the website that you'll see when you have a chance to go to the website. In addition to that, we've already got another $15,000 that's going to be coming in. Now, $10,000 of that's going to be basically put in play over 10 years. The back end of that money is going to be money that's going to be earmarked, allocated to replenish the field. So that's important to mention. We're not putting those monies in play. The only money that we're going to be illustrating on our website is the money that's actually been raised. What I wanted to say on this, and I don't know how many of you know or have heard of Gene Kranz. I had the opportunity to meet Gene. He was a former NASA director through the Apollo days back in the 60s, early 70s, and a very intelligent man. He's in his 80s, and just the presence that the man brings to the table is astonishing. It's unreal. But we've already asked from a few people if we raise just a portion of this, what's going to happen to the money. And from what Coach Hicks said right out of the gate, failure is not an option. That's what Mr. Kranz said right there. Failure is not an option. And our point on this is that when the monies are being raised, our goal is to do it in 12 months, if not sooner. If it takes 24 months, we'll still keep going forward. That money's going to stay into the Conner High School account until we reach our goal that we need. And speaking of that goal, as you saw what John illustrated, and you have the slides that we provided for you, our goal is to try to raise over $1 million. You heard in the video that when Coach Hicks and I went out to do some due diligence to understand not only what fields are, what they cost, what's associated with them in terms of building them, the quotes that came back to us was $615,000 to $690,000. What we didn't take into consideration right there is miscellaneous efforts that may take into play. For instance, when you think about the field as a whole, we're not doing anything with the track. Everything's on the inside of the track. So everything that you can envision at Conner High School will be on the inside of the track. We're not touching the track itself. Of that, you would take off about anywhere from 9 to 12 inches of dirt in the crowning. Jim's already got approval through the building director that dirt can actually be pushed over on the back of the hillside to even that out a little bit more, as long as it don't cause runoff into the neighbors behind Conner High School's facility right now. But what the funds are actually going to be in play for is we know that it's going to be close to, as I mentioned, $615,000 to $690,000, but we got to put $100,000 on top of that for miscellaneous in case if the tracks tore up a little bit to fix that. Now the beauty of this is that we have talked to a few excavating companies and some gravel companies, and it's going to take about over 300 ton of rock quarry between limestone, between crushed rock, gravel, in order to fill all the area of the field before they put the sand and then they put the small surfacing level down and then put the turf and then put the rubber particles on top. So it's going to be an effort, but the beautiful thing about this is that we've already got some people step up and say, hey, I'm willing to help out, I'm willing to do it for cost. Some of these people, they're excavating companies, they're not in a position where they'll give money, but they'll give time. So it's a win-win for us, and we're very excited about that because we've got a few people already lined up that's going to be willing to help us. The tricky part of it, though, is going to be when the timing happens of once we have all our funds in play, depending on where they are at in their business cycle. But before I go any further on that, I want to hand it over to Coach Hicks to talk a little bit about the process once the funds are raised.
As Troy said, just a little backtrack. We started, you can tell, we've got our I's dotted and our T's crossed. This process started back in August when I called Troy up and say, let's get this going. Well, it's been a process because we want to make sure we do this right. And as you can tell, we're on the right path to doing this thing right. And it's all going to come back to, again, to the community to get this thing rolling. And once it gets rolling, what we do, we already have a fund set up at our school. Like Troy said, we've got $15,000 in the bank right now with a lot more promised. So that's pretty good. Nothing from anywhere, no corporations yet. We got 15 in the bank, we're ready to roll with it. And what's neat, and I don't know if Troy kind of alluded to it a little bit, check out our website. You need to go check that out because what you're going to see is a field on there, and you're going to see a football traveling down that field. So we've got a running meter of where we stand. So, you're in that situation, check it out. Oh man, someone donated, but get the ball moving. Let's get this thing rolling. And when we're right there, we need that first down. We need that goal kick to get this thing across that line, and we're in. We're ready to roll. And once that money is procured and ready to go, that's when the process of the paperwork starts. I sat down with Eric McCarter and Emmett Hayes, who is our architect, and I was a little disappointed. I didn't realize that it would take a 6 months process to do the paperwork. They said for us to be able to get this thing, we need about 6 months because the paperwork has to go to the state and come back to the county, then the county's got to approve this part of it, and it goes back to the state, and it comes back, and it's just crazy. But that's what has to take place once we get this money secured. And I said, hey, can we get started? Because it's going to happen. And they said, no. We have to make sure we have this money in hand to get started. So that's kind of the process, and once it gets going, none of this money none of the money has been used from the account to go towards anything. So the mailers that went out, the papers that you have, the website that's been processed, none of the money has come out of anything from this fund. Everything has been donated. So we're going to use whatever money is sent and saved into our account is going directly there. Money is not going anywhere else. It's going directly to the turf fund. Once we have that money, once we have that turf fund built, then we can take that money and we can help baseball. Because one of the biggest questions that came to me in the beginning, why not baseball? Why not softball? Why not this? Why not that? Well, you know what? We got to hit the sport, or I shouldn't just say the sport, the field that's going to help the most student athletes and students in general and the band. And it's going to help the most by getting this turf field. So once we procure that and once we have that money there, now we can start doing fundraisers. We can start renting it out. We can start doing those things to help out the baseball field, to help out the softball field. What about a field house? Well, it's baby steps. Got to have baby steps. And once we get this money, then once we get this turf field built, then we can do those things. I know Coach is tired of having people, all coaches are tired of having their kids go to the bathroom in a porta potty at halftime. It's kind of embarrassing. Really embarrassing. So once we get it rolling, now we can start doing things with other facilities. Now we can start helping out that way. But we got to start somewhere. And so by doing this right here, it's going to get those other facilities upgraded.
I want to hit the next slide, Dan. One thing that I skipped over, but I wanted to hit on the end of this before we get into our question and answers. This is just one of many illustrations that we have of what the field could look like. What I wanted to talk to you about is the idea of campaign help. It's the idea of getting involved. What can you do to help? It may not be money, but it may be something you can do. It may be going door to door for us. It may be calling your grandmother or your grandfather or your aunt or uncle or your business associate or a church member or whomever it may be in the community to help us raise this money. Our strength, and these guys have heard me say this a lot, our strength are in our numbers. And we have the strength and we have the numbers here in the Hebrew community. We have the strength and we have the numbers here in the community. We owe it to Conner High School. We owe it to our student body. The academic achievements these kids have done and will keep doing is tremendous. And I tell you this, even though I'm a high school Conner graduate as well, I've had the opportunity, I've been blessed to travel the country and see a lot that's out there. And we're very fortunate to have what we have here in this community. And it's not going to do anything but better if we can help build a turf field. So from that, there are a few questions that I think that the crowd may have. We want to hand that over to you. We've got some mics up here. If you don't mind stepping up, asking questions. What I will say about the Q&A session that we'll have here, one is if we don't have the answer for you, we'll try to at least take that information down and then email that back to you, but then also put it on our website. What we've done right now, and thank you Chaz Humble of All Source Technology for setting our website up, he's got a Q&A section in there already. And those questions have really transpired based upon the community, what they've already asked us. And when they keep asking us, we're going to keep putting them on there, is what we're doing. In addition to that, we're going to have some white paper, or better yet, what we call case studies that are going to be on there, because there's some questions that are sensitive to some people about the turf and about how safe it is. And we want to be sure that we answer anything and everything, pros and cons about the turf field campaign. So from that, we'll open up. Coaches, y'all have anything you want to add or say? Coach Strasman. Okay. So do we have any questions? Mr. Campbell.
So the paperwork, 6-month process, we have to have the funds secured. Is that the 600,000 or the one or the end?
That'll be. Mr. Hayes thought it'd be about 900.
900.
Need to be out anywhere between 800 and 900 to get the paperwork started. Yeah.
Okay.
Now it could come in. And once we say, hey, we got 700, that might get us started. That might. But that was his rough estimate because he hadn't done any research yet on the fields that he needed. Because what they do, they have a big spreadsheet of a rubric of what the companies that they're going to go out and get to do the turf field. So they haven't done that part yet.
So what we can share with you on that too, just to give you an idea, the times are different now than what they were in 2007, 2008. Roger Babbitt's a friend of mine and Coach Hicks through church and some other things that we do. We had the opportunity to sit down with Roger. Roger was a driving force to the Ryle High School turf campaign that they had. And they had a lot of ideas in place, but within 64 days of it, they had a donor of $750,000. So Mr. Hayes from the school board was shocked to already have that call, several weeks into it from Roger saying, oh, you already got the money, okay. Theirs was more because they had to redo the track too. The track wasn't sanctioned for sections, so they had to redo the track as well. They just didn't do a field, they did a track also. So I think it's important if you're trying to measure what we've done, or what we're looking at doing and will do, versus what Ryle's done. I also spoke to Duran Alexander. Duran, you here? Okay. Duran and his brother actually was going to do this for Boone County several years ago as well. And from what Duran was sharing with me, there was a stopper because they were in a process where they were trying to, the turf field company that was going to do it was going to give $100,000 from what Duran said, as long as they could use Sean's name. In addition to that, they were going to use Sean Alexander's foundation for some of those monies, but they also wanted the school board to match it. And the school board's not in a position where they're going to be matching and putting any of their monies into the athletic side of the turf field. Not for one school, but for all the schools, at least for right now. We're in the process where we're building schools and putting more money into our teachers and our academics than we are athletics, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because we got high standards in Boone County. But that's a good question, John, thank you. Any other questions out there? Yes, sir.
You mentioned in the very beginning about something changing, the change in the landscape. Is there a new school or something that works? You alluded to I should not know.
Okay, what we don't know, he asked about, thank you, good question. He asked about if changing the landscape in terms of the Connor High School demographics. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and knowing that our population is going to go up in the area per household as well as homes. We know within the next 10 years we potentially could have over 3,000 homes that are going to be built in this area. We just don't know where they're going to be. But what we don't know, to your question, Dan, if you could go back to, I believe, slide 5. Thank you. What we don't know is how this is broken up right now. And as I mentioned earlier, you can envision of where Rally Team is right there in Burlington and it goes all the way down to Bellevue Bottoms and then all the way out to Florence. That's all the Connor district. We don't know how that's going to be restructured once those new homes within the Valley Shannon area, which is in the Cooper area, I can't see if that's blue or purple, but where that's going to take effect and what that's going to do and potentially where that populated area may transcend over a little bit to Ryle, maybe a little bit to Cooper, and then into Boone County High School district as well. We just don't know. But what we do know in our area right now, I haven't been told, Coach, have you been told is any land in the process of?
They are not talking about building a new high school anytime soon. It's not even a thought process. So as far as the boundaries changing away from Connor High School, I don't see anything, on the other side of Burlington, anything that way changing in the next 10, 15 years because they don't even have it on books. It's not a thought process right now.
The only thing I can add to that, I think from the last thing that the school board acquired in this area was right past North Point. There was a house there, they had 10 acres to push back. It was $40,000 an acre, so that, I think they paid $400,000 for that. But that was the last, as far as the land that was developed here. And I think a lot of that was because of North Point being bigger and more of the homes going back there are what they'll do. Yes?
Get to a threshold here, $100,000 shop, $200,000 shop. They're really based on commitments going forward, taking debt.
Okay, the question was, is if we're trying to get to our threshold, say if our goal is 800,000 or 700,000, whatever that may be, we know right now from what we've been, quoted on, it would be 700,000 at the highest. Mr. Hayes from the school board said put another 100,000 on that for miscellaneous reasons, so that would be 800,000. That's what I can tell you right now. If we're shy with a variance of 200,000 on that, they still wouldn't move forward because we're in a process of how you can go about a turf field. You can actually lease a turf field where the leasing agency can come in and say what you can and can't do on that. Boone County's not set up that way. What happens is that they are going to own the sole rights to it. So all the money that we raise, as Coach Hicks was mentioning earlier, the school board, Mr. Hayes, is going to take that money and go through the bidding process of 30 to 60 days to find the best and lowest bidder that we can in order to achieve our goal.
And failure is not an option.
This might be a question more for the school, but I work for a company where we work with large companies coming into the area, and we were just in New York a couple weeks ago, and they searched the whole country over, and the prime location for this company's distribution center was going to be right here in Hebron.
Right.
And the problem was they need 2,600 employees. So what I was going to ask if the schools, as part of this whole thing, could look into training programs and educational programs for the distribution business, because if you get that, those companies will then be more likely to come here and be more likely to sponsor. So that's more of a school question, but it's just an idea. We deal with this all the time in what I do.
Coach Strasser, you want to talk to them on the Core Technology Committee?
We're talking football.
Yeah, we have Ms. Sargent. You want to answer some of that? She's one of our.
Sure.
Yeah. Ms. Sargent, thank you for being here. She's our vice principal at Connor, so she can answer that for you. All right. Good questions. I appreciate that. More questions? Any and all, please. Yes. Is that Christine?
That will be selecting the company, or will you, as a committee, be selecting the company who
it will all be Mr. Hayes, who's the school board building director. Now, he can potentially take the due diligence that Mr. Hicks and I have done and utilize that information to better his process through his procurement process that he'll do, but it's going to be his deciding factor in terms of what he's going to do. And believe me, he's going to look at it in several different demographics. One, he's going to look at the safety of it. He's going to look at, even though the cost may be lower or higher, what we're getting in return on investment for that. Because this is a long-term investment in terms of what we've got to put in play for Conroe High School. Good question, thank you.
Sure.
Yes? Glad you asked. Have we reached out to St. Elizabeth? Actually, John and I had spoke to Garen, the CEO of St. Elizabeth, December. So we had a conference call with Garen, and he was a great advocate of what we were doing. St. Elizabeth is in a position, as you well know, they support all the schools throughout Northern Kentucky, and then some. And from what I've been told from John and I's conversation with Garen is that minimally, I think they give on the average about $75,000 a year each high school throughout Northern Kentucky. That may be an education side of it. That may be from support that they do with their trainers and in other areas that they provide medical expertise in. But what Garen shared with us is that he is willing to sit on a committee for us if and when needed. He said that he'd be willing to help us host an event. As you saw what John had on one of the slides, at a large dinner table, that was a significant amount of money for a dinner table. But that's where Garen's idea came into play and said, we can do this. I can bring in, a list of all these people, and we can help you raise that money. But Garen's almost in a position like the school board is. If they give money here, they're going to have to give money all across the board. We have entertained the idea with some other medical practices as well. And we're still open to have discussions with them. But a very good question. We appreciate that. Thank you. Any more questions? Beacon. What was that?
He works for Beacon.
Well, I love Beacon. Dr. Romiller, Dr. Hamilton, my good buddies. Question back here, yes, sir.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about other enhancements in the scoreboard? Other outbuildings that we included in Mr. Conroe's
Is it Mr. Sands?
Yes.
I can talk about the scoreboards. I've been working with the company since August, Slam Dunk, who they represent different places like St. Elizabeth and things like that. And they told me 2 weeks ago that they are working with them and Commonwealth Orthopedics that we will get. I don't think I've told you. I don't think I told you yet, Coach. We're going to get a new football scoreboard and a new softball scoreboard and a new baseball scoreboard. So that is coming. As far as other buildings, again, that's something that we can go. I agree with you. Our concession stand and the bathroom area there. And I think Ms. Sargent would agree with me. Probably the best thing that could happen is, a bad windstorm come through and take that with it. But again, that is something that as we go through this process that we can raise money for to try and fix that. Because you're right, it definitely needs an upgrade. You're right.
And the track is not out yet, so we're still considering that, but we've got to take these invasive approaches. Is Phil Breeze here, or John Toten? I don't know if you guys are here or not. I've had some sidebars with both of those gentlemen. Both are involved with a lot of the building that we do in the Hebron area. And, a lot of people's asked us, well, are you going to go to them and see if they can do, some things for the field drive that we're engaged in right now. And we're looking at that in our second phase once we reach our goal for the turf field, because they do more of the construction side in terms of facilities. That's where we're going to be focusing with them. And it would be a good return on investment for them, because instead of giving money, they can actually do the service. And so that's something that we are focused on. And I'm excited about it when we get to that point, because I'm talking to them quite a bit on that, even though we're still going through this process right now. Thank you for the question. Any student questions? I thought we'd have some questions from some of the student body. Saw a hand go up there. Don't want to ask? It's okay. Yes?
Do you have a master plan for what you're proposing to do, or is it just mainly provide money to the field and have the extra money and then go over this, and then more than that, go over this? Is there an overall master plan, overall master budget?
Thank you for asking. Gentleman asked about a master plan. And in terms of a master plan, you look at it in different phases of what you're trying to build overall. What I can share with you right now on your questions is that we're approved by the school board to do what we call our discovery phase right now, and that's to raise funds primarily for Conner High School's athletic and turf field. That is something that we are going to be entertaining, but we got to take baby steps, as Coach Hicks mentioned earlier. In terms of the actual plan we put together, we originally had in a second and third phase for the building side of it, and then potentially transcending into some of the other sports at Conner. But we took that out so we could solely focus on this first before we actually went into those other processes, which would be phase 2 and 3.
And to piggyback on Troy, we were afraid if we put all that in there, that they would turn us down. So we wanted to make sure we got this part done to be able to get it approved and then move forward with that. So we thought, well, if we do both of our 3 phases, then they're going to say, well, that's too much. No. And we didn't want them to deny any of this. And to our school board's credit, they're all for it. They're all for it. They're just not able to help us raise the funds for it. Now, I will say, one of the things we mentioned to earlier was getting our gaming license. And I went over to the school board, and Linda Shield worked with me hand in hand. She took it to the board themselves, and the board approved it. So I found that out yesterday. So that, again, it's a process, it's paperwork. And so with that, and I was pretty excited to see that. So they're really doing things to help us to raise money, even though they're not able to raise the money for us. Anything else?
I do want to hit on the sponsorship side of the question. Yes.
If we have a band competition and we raise a lot of money, does that all stay at Conner, or does that go to the school board and they decide how?
All that stays at Conner. Everything that's raised at Conner stays at Conner. Yes.
That's a great question. So, I mean, what is the breadth of revenue opportunities here? We could do band competitions. We could rent the field out. We could host regional soccer events.
Well, even on regional soccer events and those things, like Coach Spencer came to me at the end of the soccer season and said, "Hey, we're hosting soccer around." I went, "Hey, we're not," because I'm like, we're not doing that to start the season off and destroying the field for the rest of the year. So had we had this turf field, we would have hosted soccer around, which would have been a big fundraiser, moneymaker for us. But you know, I kind of got to look at the whole picture, and there's no way we could have hosted. So that to say that's a great example of why this would help us out.
But I think it's really important for people to understand when we talk about revenue, that doesn't get distributed. That doesn't go to Frankfurt and then come back to us at a fractional value. That stays here.
Correct.
And you know, where I grew up, my high school installed a turf field 20 years ago.
That was Cleveland, right?
It was Cleveland. And, you know, and I think Troy talked about, you know, academically how well off we are, and athletically we need to subsidize. Frankly, you know, I think everyone would agree we shouldn't have to compromise athletically or academically, right? This is an ambitious project that should reflect an ambitious community. And I don't, you know, I listen to I'm going to talk here for a little bit. I listened to the video. There's no risk here. This is only upside. You know, my hometown installed one of these fields, and now they host soccer regionals, they host lacrosse tournaments, they host track and field events. The revenue upside is tremendous. And you drive by there at Thanksgiving and there are kids playing soccer on the field. They're playing pickup football. People come back to use the facility. There's no concern about, breaking your ankle or, what's going to happen when the football team has a playoff game. It's a tremendous unifying influence for the community. And I was at the basketball banquet last night, and I thought the coaches did a great job talking about the season, and you really sense the community of the team. One thing I wish the coaches had talked about is how many hours those kids had spent practicing. How many hours do we as parents spend driving our kids to athletic events? Why do we do that? Because someday they're going to make it to the Major League Soccer and pay us all back, they're going to play in the NFL? No, it's because they have a passion. And we want our children to live a life with a passion. That renews us. And when they show up to play football or march in the band or run track and field or play soccer or whatever, all that investment they make that comes back on the field, we're there with them. Sometimes we're as tired as they are after the game, right? Pushing them up and down the field. But man, that's why we're parents, right? And that's why it's part of why we have children. That passion makes a more meaningful life for them. It makes a more meaningful community for us. My son spends hours practicing soccer. I don't want him to worry about whether the ball's going to come up in his face or go and slide out of bounds because the field crown is like 18 inches from the middle to the sideline. I want his practice and his passion to be rewarded with a facility where he can really do his best. Does that mean he's going to lead Northern Kentucky in scoring? No. But does that mean he can go out there and, with Connor on his chest, feel proud about the team he's playing for, feel good about what he's doing, and at the end, look at his teammates, look at his coaches, look at his parents, and say, this meant something to me? Absolutely. So you ask me to give money to that, that's a no-brainer. I looked at that financial statement, and I look at the bottom up, and I think, we need to be more ambitious. We have 1,300 students, right? 1,000,003, that's $700 a student. Let's not wait for Amazon, although I hope they give liberally and generously. Right? And believe me, when I wrote the check, I swallowed hard and did, but I have 3 sons. I believe in all of them. But I believe in Amy Camp. Right? I believe in the McKinney family and the Borgwars. And I want those kids to enjoy an experience that they'll remember forever. And when they come back and they want to live here, and I can go watch my grandchildren play, I will feel proud about that. I'll feel great for my kids. I'll feel great for your kids. And I think we'll all feel better as a community. So I think, we can talk about the economics and the revenue and everything, and I think it's there. I believe it's there, and I hope the committee does a better job illustrating it. I think the intangibles make this a no-lose situation. And I would love to go see the women's soccer team play on a turf field. Just like I go see football, boys soccer, I'd love to see lacrosse. God knows I'm retired someday and have nothing but time. I'll go walk around the track and think, I hate this field. Let's come together around this. Let's be great about this. Because we can. And I think at the end of all this, we all have something to be proud of, and our kids and their kids will have something they'll always remember.
Put him on a committee.
John Campbell. I believe he's there with us.
Pass it off, please.
You couldn't say any better, John. And I think that's why we're together here tonight to talk about this, because we're going to make this dream a reality. And one thing I want to mention that I didn't, hopefully I didn't discourage people earlier, but when I showed the levels of sponsorship, 10,000, 15,000, 25, 50 and up, Keep in mind that you can do a significant sponsorship of $1,000 a year over a 10-year period, where you can give $10,000 over 10 years. And we have, what, minimally 36 spots, Justin? Coach? 36 spots in the back of the grandstands that we're going to utilize that for. And again, that's for allocating funds on the back end of a project. John, we appreciate your comments. We appreciate your questions that everybody's been putting out there. Now, I think being that the crowd's warmed up a little bit, I hope we have a few more questions. Yes, ma'am. The question that was asked is if we have a significant donor, similar to the possibility of Amazon, and the name recognition of a field, would it be in the middle of the field? That's not yet to be determined. That would be a decision between the school, Mr. Hayes, the school board, and how we would set that up. Ideally, it would be on there. I've seen it on quite a few college fields that we've been to in certain areas. Would it be right in the middle? I can't answer that tonight, but what I can say, it will be there enough. If you're like me and fly out a lot, I see the field all the time when I'm up in the air. 5 seconds sooner I'm up. I mean, it's less than a mile away, radius-wise. So it is a good position of where it's at that could be advertised, heavily than any other school in Northern Kentucky. Thank you for the question. Any other questions? Have a question? Yes, sir.
Do we actually have a main donor, or you just talk? Have you reached out to Amazon and talking to anybody?
The question is, have we reached out to Amazon? And we've started those conversations. We just wanted to be sure that we were reaching out to the right people at Amazon. And we have started those conversations. If you know some people at Amazon, by all means, reach out to Coach Hicks and let him know who you know. Like I mentioned earlier, our strengths and our numbers. You may know someone there that sits in the main office in Seattle or somewhere in California that I'd be more happy to fly out and see it and talk to tomorrow. So, but a good question. Thank you. Any of you guys up front? Coach, anything else to add?
I just go back to what Mr. Campbell said a minute ago. 1,300 plus kids at our school, 700 a kid. That's not that far off. And that slide 5, I think it was. There's how many thousands of people that are in our Connor community. We're not that far away. We didn't know what we would expect as far as a crowd tonight. We appreciate you guys showing up. This is just the kickoff. This is what's getting us going. We are rip roaring, ready to go. And we really appreciate you guys being here. We want you guys to take what you've learned tonight, get it out in the community. If you can think of anything that can help, let us know. We've got out there in the front, if you didn't sign up, an email, your name, email. If you know a company, write down their name, their email address, phone number. Help us, because that's what we're here for. We're here for you guys. We're here to get this thing going. I'm getting goosebumps up here, John. I'm getting goosebumps, man. I can't wait. I'm excited. Let's get this thing kicked off. Let's get this thing rolling.
We appreciate everybody's participation tonight. If you haven't, sign up outside. We can keep you informed of what we're doing on a weekly basis. Sign up also